At 11:47 a.m. on a Saturday in July, a 26-year-old woman posted an Instagram story. You've seen 1,000 just like it. A mint green Stanley tumbler perched on a ledge of red sandstone, golden light catching the condensation. The camera does that little boomerang bounce. Her caption reads, "Spiritual reset loading." Her white sports bra is still clean. Her hair is still pulled back in a neat claw clip. The canyon walls behind her glow the color of rust and honey, and if you didn't know what was coming, you'd double tap without thinking. By 3:30 that same afternoon, 3 hours and 43 minutes later, a pair of hikers flagged down a ranger at the trailhead parking lot. They had heard someone calling for help somewhere deep inside the canyon. They could not tell where. The sandstone walls do something to sound, bending it, scattering it, turning a scream into an echo that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Search and rescue mobilized within the hour. They did not find her that night. The next morning, a team located her body in a narrow side gulch, barely wider than her shoulders, roughly 6/10 of a mile off the main trail. She was sitting with her back against the rock, knees drawn up. The ambient temperature that day had reached 118 degrees, but inside the canyon, the real number was something far worse. Her mint green Stanley tumbler was never recovered. No one knows exactly when she lost it or where. No one knows why she left the marked route. And no one knows why she was alone, because every piece of content she had posted that week suggested this was supposed to be a group trip. Her cause of death was hyperthermia. She was 26 years old. How does a healthy young woman die on a trail that thousands of tourists walk every summer? To understand how 4 hours became a death sentence, you have to understand what 118 degrees does inside a slot canyon, and why it is worse than 118 degrees anywhere else on Earth. Think of a slot canyon as a stone oven turned on its side. The walls rise 40, sometimes 60 feet, but the gap between them can narrow to less than 6 feet across. Sunlight pours in from directly above, superheating the sandstone. And here's the part most people never consider, that heat doesn't escape. It bounces. Sandstone absorbs solar radiation and re-emits it as infrared energy, not just from the floor, but from every surface. Left wall, right wall, the ledge beneath your feet, the overhang above your head. You're not being heated from one direction, you're being baked from all of them simultaneously, the way a convection oven cooks a piece of meat faster than a conventional one. At a 118 degrees ambient, the temperature recorded at the nearest weather station that Saturday, the air inside a narrow slot canyon doesn't stay at 118. Field measurements from the National Park Service show canyon floor temperatures regularly exceed ambient by 10 to 15 degrees. That puts the air she was breathing somewhere around 130, maybe higher. At that temperature, every inhale feels like swallowing something solid. Now do the math she didn't do. At 118 degrees with moderate exertion, and hiking on uneven sandstone is more than moderate, the human body loses between 1.5 and 2 liters of sweat per hour. That's the body's only cooling mechanism working at maximum capacity, dumping fluid it cannot afford to lose. Her Stanley tumbler held 40 ounces, that's 1.18 liters. Enough hydration for roughly 35 to 40 minutes of exertion in that heat, maybe less if she was already slightly dehydrated from the drive. Experienced desert hikers carry a minimum of 1 liter per hour, plus electrolytes. For a 2-hour hike in those conditions, that's at least 2.5 liters. She carried approximately 1/8 of what she needed. By the time she reached the deepest, narrowest section of the canyon, the section with the best light for photographs, her water was already gone. The NPS reports that slot canyon rescues in southern Utah increased 340% between 2015 and 2023. The canyons haven't gotten hotter. The people entering them have gotten less prepared. But here's what makes this story something other than a cautionary tale about hydration. She knew the canyon was hot. Her browser history, recovered later from her phone, confirmed she'd researched temperatures, trail length, even the best time of day for golden hour photos. She had the information. So why did she walk into a stone oven carrying one bottle of water? The answer isn't in the weather data, it's on her content calendar. Her content calendar, a color-coded Google spreadsheet shared with her manager, told the story her Instagram never would. The Utah trip wasn't spontaneous, it wasn't a spiritual reset. It was a 5-day content sprint, planned 6 weeks in advance, with deliverables mapped to each location. Day 1, hotel room unboxing, golden hour balcony shot. Day 2, desert highway driving content, windows down, hair blowing. Day 3, the centerpiece, was the slot canyon. The spreadsheet labeled it hero content. 2 carousel posts, 3 reels, minimum 8 stories. The outfit was specified in the notes column: white sports bra, white athletic shorts, clean girl canyon aesthetic. You probably already understand why. Over 3 years, she'd built 200,000 followers on a single visual premise: minimalism as identity. Every image she posted obeyed the same unspoken rules: muted tones, negative space, nothing that cluttered the frame. Her feed wasn't a diary, it was a mood board, and the mood was effortless. And effortless meant nothing extraneous. So no hydration pack, too bulky, broke the silhouette, no hat. And this is the detail that will stay with you, because hats ruined the hair content. In any other context, choosing not to wear a hat is the most harmless vanity in the world. You've done it, I've done it. A sunny brunch, a beach day, a friend's rooftop wedding. But context is everything. And in a slot canyon at 118 degrees, that tiny relatable choice becomes the first domino. The one water vessel that made the cut was the Stanley tumbler. It matched her palette. It photographed well. It was already a prop in dozens of her previous posts. She wasn't being reckless by her own logic. She was being consistent. And the algorithm had spent 3 years telling her that consistency was the only thing that mattered. She wasn't alone in that logic. Search the hashtag #HotGirlHike on TikTok and you'll find over 890 million views. Pull up the top 50 posts. Count how many creators are wearing sun protection. Count how many have a visible hydration system. Count how many carry anything that could be called emergency gear. The numbers are bleak. More than 80% show women in minimal clothing. No visible water beyond a branded bottle, no preparation whatsoever. The algorithm doesn't reward preparedness. It rewards beauty in wilderness. And she had learned that lesson better than almost anyone. She entered the canyon at 11:30 a.m. For the first 20 minutes, everything went exactly as planned. Then she dropped the Stanley. The GPS log, reconstructed later from her phone's location services, tells the story in cold coordinate pairs. At 11:30 a.m., she passes the canyon mouth. Her pace is steady, about 2 miles per hour, which is normal for uneven sandstone. She's filming. The phone's accelerometer data shows the characteristic stop-start-stop pattern of someone shooting content: walk 10 feet, pause, hold the phone still for 4 seconds, walk again. She's working. At 11:47 a.m., she posts the boomerang story, the Stanley on the ledge, the golden light, the caption. 17 minutes in, and everything is still on schedule. Then the data gets interesting. At 12:04 p.m., the GPS track shows a sudden lateral movement, a sharp jag to the right, then a cluster of pings in the same 5-foot radius over the next 3 minutes. She's stopped. She's not filming, she's reaching for something. This is the switchback where the canyon floor drops about 18 inches over a series of stepped ledges, each one slick with a fine layer of sand over smooth rock. Somewhere on this switchback, the Stanley tumbler left her hands. If you've ever been in a slot canyon, you know what happened next. A round object on angled sandstone doesn't just fall. It rolls, it bounces, it finds the lowest crack and wedges itself somewhere your arm can't follow. 3 minutes of GPS clustering. 3 minutes of her crouching, reaching, probably swearing under her breath, and then she stands up and keeps walking forward, not back. This is the moment that kills her. Not the heat, not the canyon, a decision. And it's a decision you'd probably make too. She's already 34 minutes deep. The entrance is behind her. The content she came for, the deep narrows, the light beams, the hero shots, is ahead. Going back means losing the day. Going back means the spreadsheet doesn't get filled. Going back means explaining to her manager why the centerpiece content doesn't exist. So she does what humans always do when they've invested time and effort and identity into a path. She keeps going. Psychologists call it the sunk cost fallacy. In the wilderness, they call it the #1 killer of otherwise rational people. But here's what she doesn't know. Without that 40 ounces of water, her body's countdown has already started. At 12:04 p.m., she has roughly 20 to 25 minutes before the first symptoms of heat exhaustion set in. Headache, nausea, a flush spreading across the chest and neck. The skin feels like it's humming. By 12:40 p.m., her phone loses cellular signal entirely. The GPS still pings, that's satellite-based. It doesn't need a tower, but she can't call, can't text, can't post. She is now without water, without communication, in air that exceeds 130 degrees, and the canyon is narrowing. The next 35 minutes of GPS data are the hardest part of this story to look at. Her pace drops, then it becomes erratic, short bursts of movement interrupted by long pauses. She's stopping to rest every 40 or 50 feet. Her body temperature is climbing past 104 degrees, the threshold where the hypothalamus, the brain's thermostat, begins to malfunction. Confusion sets in. Spatial reasoning degrades. The canyon walls all look the same, red, smooth, endless. At 1:15 p.m., the track veers left, off the main corridor, into a side gulch barely 4 feet wide. She walks 200 feet into it with what the data suggests is confidence, steady pace, straight line, no hesitation. She thought she'd found a way out. Maybe she saw a brightening in the light ahead and mistook it for an opening. Maybe her compromised brain simply told him this was the right direction and she believed it. The way you believe a dream is real while you're inside it. At 204 feet, she stops. The GPS pings cluster again, tight, still. She doesn't move from this spot. The gulch was a dead end, 4 feet wide, maybe 60 feet deep, the walls rising straight up on both sides. No shade difference from the main canyon, no breeze, no exit. She sat down with her back against the sandstone, knees drawn to her chest. She did not get back up. She was found the next morning. But the people who found her said something that changes how you understand this entire story. The call came in at 3:30 p.m., but not from a hiker and not from a ranger. It came from the front desk of a boutique hotel 11 miles from the trailhead. She missed her 2:00 p.m. spa appointment. She had not answered 3 calls or a text from the concierge. Her manager, copied on the itinerary, tried her phone twice more. Nothing. By 3:45, the hotel had contacted the county sheriff. By 5 p.m., a 6-person search and rescue team was at the canyon mouth. They searched through the night. Headlamps cutting through sandstone corridors that still radiated heat hours after sunset, calling her name into walls that threw the sound back, broken and directionless. They found her Stanley tumbler first, wedged in a crack on the switchback ledge, still half visible if you knew where to look. She had been so close to it. At 7:15 the next morning, a team member spotted her in the side gulch, sitting upright, knees drawn in, back against the wall. From a distance, one rescuer later said she looked like she was resting, like she had just sat down to wait for better light. Her phone was still in her right hand. The screen was dead, but when technicians later powered it on, the camera app was open. She had been trying to film or signal until the battery gave out. No one will ever know which. Here is what her day pack contained. A ring light, 2 portable chargers, a microfiber lens cloth, a tube of lip gloss, the cap still on. That is it. That is the entire inventory. No whistle, no signal mirror, no extra water, no electrolyte packets, no first aid kit, not a single item designed to keep a human being alive. Every item designed to keep content alive. The SAR commander, a 19-year veteran, told local media something that stuck. We are seeing this more and more. Packs full of camera gear, empty of everything else. They are equipped for production, not survival. In the last 3 years, his unit has responded to 41 canyon rescues involving social media creators. 41. Her legs were streaked with red dust against those white shorts. The exact contrast she'd been curating all week, terracotta against clean white, now a detail in an incident report instead of a carousel post. It would be easy to call this a story about one reckless person, but the data says she's not an outlier. She's the trend line. She's the trend line. And the trend line points somewhere nobody wants to look, nowhere. The National Park Service logged over 2,500 heat-related rescues across Utah and Arizona parks last year. In 2014, that number was roughly 800. The canyons didn't triple in temperature. The trails didn't get 3 times longer. What changed was the reason people showed up. Grand County Search and Rescue, the unit that covers Moab, Arches, the canyon networks east of Capitol Reef, started tracking a new data point in 2021, whether the person being rescued was filming or photographing at the time they got into trouble. The number stunned them. More than 60%. 6 out of every 10 rescues now involve someone who is making content when the situation turned. Think about what that means. Not people who happen to have a phone. People who were actively composing a shot, adjusting an angle, choosing a filter while their body was failing. And she isn't even the worst example. In 2023, a couple died at White Sands National Park with their infant in a carrier. They'd brought 1 water bottle between 3 human beings. The baby survived barely because a passing ranger spotted the stroller from the road. At Havasupai Falls, a 22-year-old influencer had to be airlifted out after attempting the 11-mile trail in platform sandals. Platform sandals. Her TikTok from the trailhead got 400,000 views before she was in the helicopter. A 19-year-old died at Lake Powell after swimming across a cove to reach a rock formation he'd seen tagged on Instagram. The photo spot was real. The undercurrent wasn't in any caption. But here's where the anger should land, not on the dead, not on the injured, but on the machine. Run a simple test. Search #hiking on Instagram. Compare posts showing minimal gear, sports bra, single water bottle, clean aesthetic against posts showing full preparation, hydration pack, wide brim hat, sunscreen streaks on the nose, bulky first aid kit clipped to a hip belt. The prepared posts get buried, the underprepared ones surge. Engagement ratios are not even close, roughly 3-to-1 in favor of the aesthetically clean image. The algorithm reads a hydration pack the same way it reads visual clutter. Noise, friction, a reason to scroll past. The platform is financially selecting for dangerous behavior. Every like, every share, every follow trains the next creator to carry less, wear less, prepare less. The incentive structure does not just fail to protect people, it punishes the exact choices that would keep them alive. So what do we do with this? Do we blame her? Do we blame the algorithm? Or do we look at what she was actually trying to do out there and ask a harder question? Remember that boomerang, the Stanley on the ledge, condensation catching the light. 17 minutes into the canyon, and it was already the only water she had. Not because she could not afford more, not because she did not know better, because a hydration pack would have ruined the silhouette. Every single choice that killed her was a content optimization. White outfit, high visual contrast against red sandstone, gorgeous in a carousel. But white fabric offers no more heat protection than dark. No UV barrier, no wicking technology. It was a costume, not gear. No hat because hats wreck the hair content, and the after selfie was already planned. No pack because a clean back makes a cleaner frame. 1 Stanley tumbler because aesthetic minimalism was her entire brand, and 1 beautiful vessel photographs better than 3 ugly Nalgene's. She did not die from arrogance. She died from optimization. She optimized for an audience instead of an environment, and the environment does not negotiate. The algorithm told a story about a woman living her most effortless life. The canyon told a different one, about a body losing a liter of water every 35 minutes in air, hot enough to cook meat, with nothing left to drink and no way to call for help. Two stories, same person, only one of them was real. So here's the question this whole story has been building toward. If you were hiking into a 118-degree canyon tomorrow, and no one would ever see a photo of it, what would you carry? The distance between that answer and what you'd actually bring is the distance between who you are and who the algorithm wants you to be. She deserved better than to become a cautionary tale. But the least she deserves is for someone to learn something. So here it is, plain, no aesthetic, no filter. 1 liter of water per hour of hiking minimum. Electrolytes not optional, a wide brim hat, sunscreen, a whistle. A charged phone in airplane mode to save battery for emergencies, and tell someone your exact route before you leave. That checklist isn't content. It won't get likes. It photographs terribly. It keeps you alive.